This lens is the Tokina 85mm f1.8 FE atx-m. And I bought this lens essentially on the recommendation of another YouTuber, Tom Calton. So, is it Calton or Calton? Anyway, I'll link his video where he reviewed all of the 85 f1.8 lenses in the description section of this video, so you can go and watch it for yourself. He does proper reviews, not like me. Anyway, my experience of this lens. So I bought this lens because primes are always better. As far as image quality is concerned, I had already covered myself joining the Sony system with the general range by getting the Tamron trinity of lenses. Very happy with those. Reviews on the channel if you want to watch them. So as a headshot photographer, an 85mm is a natural thing to go to. Now I shoot in studio. Traditionally, when I was on the Pentax system, I would always buy the absolute best quality, widest lens money could buy. And to be honest, that was pretty simple to do on the Pentax system because of the limited range of lenses available. Now, when I came to Sony, something I didn't expect was how much I would appreciate the lightness of the system. I never really cared about weight. I shot a Pentax K1 with the full grip on. My favourite lens to use was the 70-200 DFA. That is a heavy combination. But I came to appreciate the size and weight of the Sony system quite a lot, actually, and how much easier it made life. You don't realise how much things are tiring you out. People photography is all about engagement. It's about talking to people. It's about making them feel relaxed. It's about making them feel like you're the most important person there and making them forget about the camera and the lens as much as possible, in my experience. I bought the Tokina 85, basically off the back of that video. And so there's a couple of things to feedback on it. So it comes with a lens hood. It's all metal. It feels premium quality. It is not weather sealed. Doesn't have a gasket on the back. It's not really marketed as being weather sealed either. It's a substantial piece of glass. The focus is entirely internal. So there's that. So it probably does give a degree of sealing. It doesn't have an aperture ring. So if you care about that, this lens isn't for you. It's fairly minimal design. A lot of people suspect that it and Viltrox version 2 are the same lens. Possibly. Both companies say they don't have a relationship with one another. However, I believe them both, and I believe they could be related, in as much as my opinion is there are lots of very specialist lens design companies out there who probably found, particularly during the pandemic, that work wasn't available for them. And it doesn't seem unreasonable to me that they could have designed these lenses and sold the designs, the optical design, to multiple companies. It has a manual focus ring, which I think is incredibly stiff. But then I don't really use manual focus, so I don't really care that much either. Image quality is excellent. Autofocus is fast and accurate, but it is not as accurate as my Tamrons, I have to say. Generally, I'm very happy with it. It does have a tendency to occasionally focus on eyelashes rather than eyes, more so than if I wasn't using this lens, I'd be using the Tamron 70-180 instead of it. And it does more so than the Tamron 70-180. Is sharper than the 70-180 though. Would I buy this lens again? Yes, I would. Would I buy an f1.4 over it, or an f1.2 even? Probably not. Since compromising and deciding to buy an f1.8 when my traditional instinct is always to buy the fastest, widest, most expensive lens money can buy, I haven't any regrets about it at all, really. When I look at my old images shot on wider lenses, I don't think they were the bulk I was any better. Marginal difference, but the difference in size and weight, and this is actually quite a heavy lens, was substantial. And I think in future, as I move forward, being primarily a studio shooter anyway, I'm going to buy for f1.8s over f1.4s, f1.2s. Now, never say never. If I buy a 50, I fell out of love with 50mm a long time ago, and I haven't owned one for a long time. I'd probably buy a super wide 50. Wide aperture, that is, you know, an f1.2 maybe, or an f1.4. Just because A50 is like a Swiss Army knife lens, isn't it? You know, it's not really for anything, it's for everything. In my opinion anyway. But yeah, I would recommend this lens, but I think the things to bear in mind, the negatives are, the focusing isn't as accurate as the Tamron, though I have to say it still outclasses anything I ever used on my Pentax, as far as accuracy hit rate is concerned. So it's not as close focusing as the Tamron, it's not as accurate, it's not as fast as the Tamron, but the image quality is improved. And as I use this mainly for headshots when people aren't moving around that much anyway, it's not a big deal for me. If I go to an event, wouldn't even dream of using this. I would always use the zoom lens just for the flexibility the zoom creates. But even if this was as flexible, I would use the zoom lens for the AF accuracy anyway. Yeah, so it's a good lens. I'm very happy with it. I looked at lots of the F1.8 options. Didn't want the Sony one because it seems to suffer from PDAF striping quite a lot. This seemed to be the best based upon the reviews. The reviews of this are few and far between. As I say, the best one I've seen is the one from Tom Calton, which I'll link to below, where he compares all the F1.8s available on the system. It's definitely worth checking out if you consider